Well, the Oscar nominees are here, and the 10 Best Picture nominees were quite predictable, but not necessarily horrible. A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Wicked, Nickel Boys, I'm Still Here, Amelia Perez, The Substance, The Brutalist, Anora, and Dune Part 2, which is also the highest rated one on Letterboxd. And I haven't actually gotten around to watch Dune Part 2 yet. I haven't even watched the first Dune. Well, I hadn't. About a year ago, I tried to watch Dune, and to be frank, I got a bit bored. I turned it off after about 15 minutes, but hey, Oscars are here. Guess I need to actually watch the films. And since Dune 2 is the only sequel out of all the nominees, I couldn't watch it without watching the first one. So, I want to talk about Dune today. Only the 2021 film though, not the 1984 David Lynch film The Flop, not the original book, not the 2024 sequel that is considered amazing. The only one I've seen so far, the 2021 film starring Timothée Chalamet. I hope you enjoy. Dune stars some major actors. Timothée Chalamet, obviously, who was on the rise at the time. By this point, he had been in The French Dispatch, Little Women, Lady Bird, Call Me By Your Name, and Interstellar. But he wasn't even 26 when this film came out, and he starred in it. And frankly, he does an amazing job. I haven't seen the majority of his films. I've seen Wonka, Complete Unknown, Dune, Lady Bird, Little Women, but that's about it. I haven't even seen Interstellar yet, but he excels in this role. He plays a prodigy really well, showing the pressures of having a kingdom that one day he will control. And also, he's still a kid. His character is supposed to be 15. He doesn't look 15. He could pass for 18 maybe, but not any younger. And yet he plays a teenager amazingly. We feel for his character. I didn't really like his father in the film. Oscar Isaacs was great in the role, but I just didn't trust the character. He's an imperialist who tries to come off as a good guy, and that's an amazing character for Isaacs to play, because it leaves you so unsure whether or not you should trust him. I knew he wouldn't be the main character of the film. I doubted he would survive the movie, but he sets the scene for Paul to be the new Duke amazingly. Rebecca Ferguson plays Paul's mother, and Leto, the Duke's concubine. She's great too, her character's amazing. I also didn't expect her to survive the movie, but she did. She plays a worried and overprotective mother who only wishes to push her son to his full potential, and she's great at that role. Zendaya is an interesting one. After Challengers got snubbed at the Oscars, I was quite excited to see what she'd do here. She really isn't in this film much. I first knew Zendaya from Casey Undercover. When I think about her, I think of Casey Undercover and Challengers, of course, but she does build up this film well even when she's not in it. She's in a lot of dream sequences from Paul, being the girl that he always dreams about. And when he finally meets her at the end, it sets up the second film really well, as we wonder, where is their relationship going to go? And the rest of Dune has some really good actors. Dave Bautista is my favourite wrestler turned actor. Films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Glass Onion made me realise that out of the big three wrestling actors, him, Cena and Johnson, he is my favourite. And here he isn't too prominent, but he does a good job of playing a villain nonetheless. Actors like Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, Stellan Skarsgård, they all do great jobs in adding to this movie as well. Sure, they don't have show-stealing performances, but they don't need to. Their characters aren't the ones who need to steal the audience's attention. They do exactly what they need to do, and they do it great. I think the director, Denis, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name.
Hi, my name is Denis Villeneuve.
I think he picked the cast amazingly. They add to the world so much. And, well, speaking of the world, sci-fi movies need world building. This is as much of a fact in the genre as Don't Headbutt Samoans is in wrestling. If you look at other Star Wars movies, you see that they world build brilliantly. Star Wars, you understand quickly how the world works. Aliens, they don't spoon feed you the information, but you get it quick enough. And Dune, in my opinion, does an amazing job at building what this world is. Obviously, both the 1984 original movie and the 2021 relaunching of the franchise are based off Frank Herbert's 1965 book, which does explain a lot of the Dune world. Supposedly, I haven't read it, and I probably won't. And I'm not going to sit here and say I understood everything. But I went along with the ride of the film and the story of the film, not thinking, oh, this is stupid. Oh, I don't like this. No, I was invested in Chalamet and his story and the Atreides landing on Arrakis. One of the most iconic elements of the Dune world is the sandworms. I want to use them as an example here. These absolutely giant sandworms, and they're the reason that they almost exclusively travel by their helicopter things. They're very much like garboids are in Tremors. Any movement on the surface, and one of them will come and swallow everything surrounding you. You can't really run unless you can get off the sand. And we don't actually see a full one really at all in the first Dune movie. The closest we get is at the end when we see the true size one. And even then, it isn't the full thing, just the head of it. And it's terrifying. As tall as a skyscraper, as wide as a sinkhole, with nothing you can do to escape if you're on the sand. Almost the entire film they're underground, a silent yet terrifying prospect to the characters. They are never the main bad in Dune. They are simply an obstacle for the characters to maneuver around, and just like in Jaws, the fact that we barely see them adds to the terror. And the plot of Dune needs to be simple enough to understand. In a sci-fi world like Dune, it could be very easy to become needlessly complicated. So I'm glad that even with the bit of confusion here and there that I faced, nothing was too bad that I didn't understand what was going on, or why something is happening. Take spice, for example. It's not the most important thing in the movie, but in the universe, it's seen as by far the most valuable resource, and it sets up some major developments in the plot. If the sandworms are under the sand and can't break through rock, then why do the Atreides or the Harkonnens go on the sand? Because they're mining spice. They need to sell it, so they have to take the risk. Oh, how did the Atreides come to have control over the planet, instead of the Harkonnens who had already controlled it, whilst being stuck in a conflict with the Fremen? Did they win a war? No, the Emperor decided to give Atreides Arrakis, because it will start a conflict between Atreides and the Harkonnens, and maybe the Fremen as well, which will weaken all sides of the conflict, keeping them in line. The characters aren't stupid. They know this is why the Emperor is doing this. And yet, it works well, because even if it's not their desired outcome to go to war, it really isn't up to the House of Atreides, because they aren't going to say no to the opportunity to own the planet. And the Harkonnens aren't not going to fight back against them. The Fremen, we're told that they've been fighting the Harkonnens for ages on Arrakis. We see the Harkonnens want to kill all of the Fremen. So when the House of Atreides arrive, we understand why the Fremen are so uneasy about them. It could just be another imperialist power looking to exploit the planet and eradicate them. But as it appears, no, the House of Atreides don't. They actually strike somewhat a negotiation with the Fremen to be allowed to harvest spice, but they won't attack them. Sure, I didn't really trust the Duke of Atreides with the deal. I feel like he absolutely would have gone back on it if he felt that he needed to. But he's never given that chance. It's an ambiguous question, and I love ambiguous stuff in films, and it's why I love this world so much. Even if the film sets up the potential to reveal that the Duke is a bad guy, that never happens as the Harkonnens attack before he can show potentially his true colours. In my honest opinion, Dune might have some of the best world building I've ever seen. Better than Star Wars, better than Alien. Sure, there might be some franchises or films up there, but right now I can't think of them. So my general thoughts and review on Dune is this. It's not a perfect movie. It's an 8 out of 10. It has amazing world building and it deserved the Best Picture nominee it got. Sure, it didn't win, but Dune does have a couple of issues. Most films do. As I said, it can be confusing at times. I had to Google throughout the film certain aspects, and that isn't necessarily going to take away from my enjoyment of the film. Just recently I watched The Brutalist. I had to sneakily go on my phone in the cinema as I didn't understand what was happening in the scene. But that didn't take away from the film. I also like this film being split into 2 parts or 3 parts, or I don't know. There could be more. But sure, this film is 2.5 hours. You could argue the movies that long should be able to create a world, have an issue in the world, fight the issue, solve the issue, and have a new equilibrium all within 2.5 hours. But this movie works so much better with the fact that it does not rush through everything, or really anything. We spend a good portion of the time in each section of the runtime. I don't even think it's up until more than halfway into the movie when the Harkonnens launch their attack against the House of Atreides, and that makes the build-up so much better. I'm very excited to watch the second Dune movie, and I think for a good reason. If they don't drag out the franchise like they've done to Star Wars, then I think it has the potential to be the best sci-fi franchise of the decade, as long as they don't artificially extend it. It needs to have a good amount of time. I think a trilogy is ideal for this one. So this was originally going to be a review on Brutalist. That was the video I was planning on uploading today, as I went to see that a few days ago and it was really good. Well, you'll see that in my Best Picture nominee ranking, won't you? But it was really hard to find footage of that, and I don't fancy just using handheld cinema footage for a video. Like I said, obviously soon I will be making my Oscar Best Picture nominee ranking, but expect that only a few days before the Oscars, as I still need to watch some of the films. I've seen about 6 or 7 of them at this point. I also really want to make a video on Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. It's my favourite universe, but I need to give that the actual attention and time it deserves, like at least half an hour of video, if not more. So that could be my video next week, but it depends on if I can write, edit, and release it that quickly. Could end up being a Dune 2 video. You'll see. Like always, thank you guys for watching.